If you're an average player, you want to be left alone, right? Because you want to be able to slide by. If you're a good player, you want to be coached. If you're a great player, you want the coach to tell you the truth every day. Did I hustle on that play? Did I make the right read? Did I play the guy with the right leverage? You want to know every play. Because you know why? They want to be perfect. Everybody here makes a choice to do one of those three things.
Welcome to the GOAT Consulting Podcast, a podcast dedicated to people striving to be a GOAT, the greatest of all time, serving it up in a way that you can get it in all stages of life.
Well, hello and welcome to another episode of the GOAT Consulting Podcast. I am not Colby Jubinville. I am John Byers.
Okay.
Thank you. And we are, however, still in VCE Studios here in beautiful Nashville, Tennessee. And the table looks a little different today. To my right, left, across the table, straight ahead, we've got the one that dons the crown of the GOAT Empire, Tyler Burnett. Thanks for being here with us today.
Super excited about having a couple fresh faces with us today.
I know, and one not so fresh face.
Well, it's fresh, but not super fresh.
Yeah, Colby is on PTO, and he told me he is planning world domination, so we look forward to hearing how those notes are going and how we're going to take over the world in new ways when he rejoins us, but I certainly miss his face. But in his place, maybe not his place, but
I'm coming for you, Colby.
At the table, we have a certainly no stranger to the GOAT Consulting Podcast.
New last name since the last episode.
We have Miss Rachel Smith, Layton Smith, as some may know her. She was our very first guest we ever had on the show. So it kind of seemed to make sense. If we ever needed a co-host, if I get run over by a bus, maybe, Rachel can try to fill the shoes.
I'm going to have to really work on my dad jokes to fill your shoes.
Oh, wow. Thank you for that. And you're fresh from Vegas, by the way, right?
Yep, just got
accepting
home.
Big awards out there.
Yep, got to talk about the beverage industry and some of the things I do, so
She's just
fun.
a little traveler.
She is. Well, I can tell you we have a very, very exciting show today. I cannot wait to introduce you to our friend Walter Carr. But let me just say this. This is the GOAT Consulting Podcast. It's a podcast dedicated to those that are striving to be a GOAT, the greatest of all time, in their own life, business, and relationships. And we do that in a way where we try to bring you a unique perspective, a unique education, and a unique experience, and we try to serve it up in a way that you can get it. And we do that in all stages of life. So in our 20s, where we get into the game, in our 30s, where we move up in the game, in the 40s, where we try to stay in the game, because those 30-year-olds are so damn good, and in this case, the 23-year-old
32,
so good. And in your 50s, where you ask yourself, what is it that I really want? So we're going to unpack that a little bit more today. Let me just give a quick nod to our good friends and sponsor, Dev Digital. Brian Huddleston leads the charge over there. They help bring Nashville to life. They bring energy. Anything you need from a digital platform, they do it. And they give you the freedom to build your business. So check them out at devdigital.com. And by the way, we are now an award-winning podcast.
Amazing.
We have just this week been recognized by Welp Magazine, a London-based magazine, as one of 2021's top 20 best stage direction podcasts. If you want to know what stage direction is, call Tyler after this, and he will fill you in. But thank you, Welp Magazine, for that. So here we are. Guys, you okay?
God,
We're still with you.
Anticipating.
Everybody
Let's get to this thing.
We're just gonna jump right in. Listen, when you have such greatness at the table, you don't waste much time, more than 3 minutes and 40 seconds. So Walter Carr, I got to tell you, I'm a little giddy because I've heard your story. I've followed you the last couple of years. Brian Huddleston, by the way, was a guest. His episode recently dropped with us, and you were his GOAT during the episode. And so, we, of the 40-some episodes that we've had, we have only had 2 guests, and I've only known, I think, maybe 3 of the GOATs that have ever been shared. We all share GOATs on the show. I've only ever known 3 of the GOATs, and 2 of them, I think, have actually been on, and you're the 3rd. So your story is one that is fascinating. And I feel like if I introduce you, I'm going to give way to that, and we want to certainly unpack that whole story and have you share it. But I'm just going to ask that you catch us up. Like we're going to talk about your story, but tell us who you are, tell us where you're from, catch us up on your life story to today. Take a few minutes to do this. And then let me just say one more time, welcome to the show. You are a GOAT officially, and now you have joined the bosom of the GOAT Consulting podcast family. So Walter Carr, so good to have you.
Oh, thanks for having me, guys. Congrats on y'all award being recognized in the magazine. That's a big step. I'm happy for y'all.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me. Of course, my name is Walter Carr from Birmingham, Alabama. What I've been doing lately now, I've done a couple of speaking engagements here and there for different schools. And then till COVID happened, I have right now working on my second degree, get my bachelor's in fitness and wellness.
Oh, wow.
I train a couple of people here and there, try to become a fitness coach or PE coach wherever I can land in school system. Right now, I'm currently living in Huntsville, going to school up here, and
23 years old.
23 years old. Finna be 24 in October.
Are you originally from Birmingham?
I'm originally from Birmingham. I have family members in New Orleans from where I came from. Like they spent some time there and they came back after Hurricane Katrina.
Mm-hmm.
But and I originated from Birmingham, but my accent's so strong that people are like, well, you definitely can tell you from New Orleans. I was like, yeah.
Well, you don't.
Yeah,
nobody says it like that.
I was gonna
unless
say
you're
you
from
say
there,
it right.
No.
You say it right.
So yeah. So that's pretty much what I've been doing. I just working on different projects, trying to uplift people as much as I can. Started my own Instagram a few months ago. A lot of people tell me I should have started a long time ago. So I'm not much of a social media guy, but I'm trying to get back into it. Just trying to touch people as much as I can.
So let me say this. So what took you to Huntsville? Like you went from Birmingham to Huntsville. Was that just for school?
It was just for school.
Okay.
Just for school. And I'm in my last semester of school. So
you'll
yeah.
be done with that here by the end of the summer or end of the year?
Probably end of the year. Depends how the degree audit goes.
Okay.
So, we'll
Gotcha.
see how that go. Hopefully it's at the end of this year and I'll be done. COVID kind of pushed me back.
Well, I told Brian Huddleston that he was going to join, invited Brian, and unfortunately he's in Iceland,
Wow.
Now you know somebody that's
What?
gone to Iceland. But
Wow.
he said, make sure Walter knows that we have a job for him here in Nashville, and I want to talk to him. So you may be wanting to have a conversation. I know you've probably got a long list of folks that have shared that with you, but
Yes.
And I need a health and wellness coach. So
Same. I need some help.
I got you. I give y'all my information at the end of this.
Perfect.
have you ever been to Nashville?
I have once or twice, I'm not mistaken. I came through Nashville. Can't remember why I came through Nashville, but I came through there. It's been a minute.
Okay.
I like to travel, so I'm trying to travel more.
Well, it's only a
Branch
couple
out.
hours from Huntsville, right?
Yeah,
Isn't
2
it?
hours.
Yeah.
2 hours.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not bad. I can take that drive.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I can take
Past
that.
the
Got
exit with
this.
the rocket ship,
That's
and
right.
it's just down the road.
Yeah.
Well, Walter, so good to have you. One of the ways that we honor our guests is we ask them, as we share the definition that we came up with of a GOAT at the top of every episode, we ask our guests to add to that definition or give us their very own definition of a GOAT, the greatest of all time. And would love for you to kind of add your spin to that.
Well, my definition of GOAT is like, with me, I tell a lot of people, like, nothing's impossible. Like, you hear that word so many times. And I feel like a GOAT in myself and other people is we take that word impossible and we crush it because everything is possible. Once you think that you can do it, you can do it. But once you doubt yourself, you can't. So the GOAT in my definition is somebody that takes that glass city and just crushes it. Like, just completely just takes a sledgehammer and just, no. We're going to build another one and another one and another one. Like, nothing's the limit. So my definition goes to the person that takes limits and just break them and make it unlimited and just keep it driving.
I love it.
That's cool stuff. As we talked a couple of times prior to the episode, one of the things that you shared is as we talk about your story, you just kind of live and you didn't realize the impact that it was going to make, and you didn't realize what you were doing was filled with what I might call GOAT-ness. And that's really, to me, a almost adds to that definition of a goat. Like, goats don't realize, they're living out of their character, they're living out of their integrity, and they don't realize while it's happening that they're like the impact that they're going to have. And I probably didn't articulate
A goat's
that well.
ordinary is extraordinary.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, the innate in who they are is what makes them a goat. They're not setting out to be a goat. I don't think that
That's
your
right.
story, you set out that day or that evening to get all of this publicity and become recognized as a goat, right? And you can tell by your facial expressions and how humble you are. I think, aside from what you're saying, there's just this really beautiful, humble piece of saying, like, I'm just going to crush what's impossible to me. And I'm not focused on an accolade or recognition. I'm trying to make sure that everything in my life that I want to accomplish is possible.
Yes.
So share with us a goat. Share with us a goat, Walter.
Yeah, who's your goat?
When you think about that definition, somebody that has crushed impossible, shattered that glass ceiling, who comes to mind for you?
I have many, but my top one was Steve Harvey. Of course, I know I was on Steve Harvey show. Just growing up watching what he had to go through and not taking that, I guess, that L, and just take that and just go with it, despite the circumstance of what's going on. He takes it and kept going, and then help others in what he does and bring passion to other people, laughs, jokes, whatever it be. So that stuck out to me because, like, growing up, I always love helping people and see how he helps young men when they don't have fathers. He try to give them that father figure and things, and so all the things that he's done. So that stuck with me to drive myself to be even more passionate in helping people and just be me more than I could be anything else.
I love Steve Harvey. My kids love Steve Harvey. I mean, I'm really disappointed. If you could let him know that he needs to bring back he needs to get back to hosting the show where I can't remember the name. It was with the kids where they did amazing things. What was the show, Walter?
Oh,
I
think it was Little
Big
Big
Shots?
People. Little Big Shots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It changed hosts and went downhill quick after that, but he was so good. Can you text him and ask him to bring that back, please?
You texting for me. Help me.
That's awesome.
Man. Yeah, he should come back. I loved it.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and ask this question. We got goats to share too, but obviously you joined Steve Harvey on the show to tell your story, and gosh, we're given a lot of anticipation for your story here, which it deserves. But he gave you a trip to Grenada, which was random, that specific place. But I want to hear about the trip. Like, how was the trip? Who did you take? Was it awesome?
It was great. It was real great. It was like phenomenal. Like, it's no way to explain. The people was great, and I took my girlfriend with me, and we just had a blast. It was fun. We experienced new things, how they do things different from how we do things, and how they don't base their life off technology. I guess how we do here in America. But it's great. Everybody was a fun environment. It was just great. And because I never heard of Grenada, so I was like, after I was told I was going, I had to go search up where is Grenada, and
I did too.
Overseas.
Where is it? Where is it?
Like,
Southern Alabama.
Yeah,
It's a couple hours from his house.
Like, its own little island, and it's just, you think it's so small on the map, when you get there, it's so big.
Really?
It's so big and great. So they welcomed me in. They didn't want me to leave. They're like, if you're looking for a place to stay when you get up in age, we got houses here for you. I'm just like, I might.
Wow.
Is it in the Caribbean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you connect with Steve Harvey in the first place? Like, how did that all go down? Your people reached out to his people, that kind of thing?
No clue how it went. I was just told, like, hey, Walter, we got a big surprise for you. I'm like, another big surprise? How many surprises I'm going to get?
Yeah. Oh my
Keep them
gosh.
coming.
In
Keep
these
them
months.
coming.
So they're like, such want you, this person wants you. And they're like, well, Steve Harvey wants you. I was like, I'm there. I don't care what day, whatever. I'm there. Like, because it's not that you never get a chance to meet the person that you admires and you always looked up and analyzed. He was like, to get the opportunity, I said, why would I turn it down? And I like, thank God for it. And I was like, I'm going for it. And
Wow.
again, I don't know how it happened. I think my story got to his team, then the team got to him, and he was like, and it went from there. And I was just grateful to have that opportunity.
That's so cool. Well, I think we need to share goats too.
Yep.
So our special co-host guest today, why don't you tee it up?
I'm excited to share mine. I was trying to think about, I want to make sure I didn't share any of the same ones I shared last time.
You shared a few.
Yeah,
You
I had a whole list with me because I get really excited about this topic.
You were the leader in number of goats shared as guests. So
I still hold that record.
You hold that title.
So I brought. Yeah, exactly. I'll bow down to this one. Actually, right now, I think just from a relevant standpoint, but one I'm just like super excited about female athletes in general right now, but Simone Biles is my GOAT today.
Such a stud.
I love her persona, and I was thinking about everything that she crushed to become a GOAT in your definition. You know, the glass ceilings that she broke. She overcame so much adversity, and it was reported constantly in the news over the last year. Everything that she went through as an athlete, as a female athlete, as a gymnast, and everything that happened just in that whole world over the last couple years that had kind of come to light. She keeps a smile on her face at all times, and she's such a force of positivity that I think it's just so inspiring. And when I look at everything that she continues to accomplish, like, you know, they're really hyping her up for this next round of what's getting ready to happen. And I just think about the pressure, the tremendous amount of pressure she must be under as a young person, and also to constantly be under the spotlight. Being a gymnast isn't really a lucrative job, and everybody sets out to do all different kinds of things, but she represents something so much bigger, and the majority of her wealth comes from sponsorships and stuff. So now she's really on a platform where she can tell a story and represent something. I think, you know, just as a young Black female, it's a beautiful thing to watch her do how she does it. It's just, you know, incredible to see how inspirational she is, not just to people who are young or gymnasts. I mean, I don't have an athletic gymnast bone in my body as far as like being flexible and jumping off of things. That's not really my forte. But I mean, I'm inspired by just the way she lives her life and the smile she always has on her face.
Well, that's a great GOAT. In fact, I'm going to have to cross her off my list
you
to
do
share.
have her written down.
I was not going to share that for this episode, but you couldn't have named it better. I mean, she is such a rock star, and I just watched her, and I watched her during some of the trials the other day, like cry with some of her team that didn't do well or did do well.
Yep.
And just that kind of like connection and empathy. I mean, it just speaks to even more of her incredible talent also. Or that's a part of her talent.
Always present.
She's very
and
cool.
I think that is a skill all in itself,
Good
is
GOAT.
to be present there at all times.
Well done. All right.
Go ahead.
My GOAT is going to be somebody that Walter's probably very familiar with, and his name is Luke Marklin, who is the CEO of Bellhops, was the CEO. I don't know his story today or what the relationship looks like today, but Luke is who called on that phone call that you reached out where you were starting your first day. And again, we'll unpack that story here in a moment, but Luke ended up, and correct me if I'm wrong, Walter, but Luke ended up giving you a car and also helping to start the GoFundMe page as well. Was he a part of that?
Yes, him and Miss Jenny was part of it.
Okay.
From my understanding, those two was definitely, yes.
So I almost put Jenny as a part of that because I felt like they're kind of a package deal in your story. But Luke, so let's just go ahead and do that. So we'll add Luke and Jenny both as a part of that, but really such a big part of his story, yours, Walter, and I think they are worthy of being raised up in that and what they were able to do. So they're my GOATs for this episode. Obviously, you are the GOAT of the episode, but as we try to expand that list just a little bit more, they belong on it too. So Luke Marklin and Jenny.
I'm going to go back to the sports realm, and I'm going to go the Black Mamba, Kobe Bryant.
Oh,
Nice.
my player.
And I'm going to do that for numerous reasons. Number one, following behind another GOAT, MJ, had to be a incredibly tough task.
Yeah.
Him working out at 3 o'clock in the morning and at 9 o'clock at night and everywhere in between, and just the work that he put in and going above and beyond and making the ordinary for him extraordinary. Just so many things that he's done too with the facilities that he did and helping kids and all of that. So that's why I'm going to go with Kobe Bryant.
Well done.
I love it.
What a great set of GOATs we have today.
Yes.
I had four. I had four written down too. I didn't know
Me
where
too.
to
I
go
had
with it.
I had like so many. Like, who I'm gonna choose? Kobe was definitely on my list. Kobe was definitely on my list as one of the GOATs because I like it. Like you said, his work ethic.
Well, one of his comments he made one time too, and he played through injuries a lot. And one thing people ask him, why didn't you just take all week off and get healed? He said, what if that family had saved up for 3 years to come watch me play?
Yep.
Right.
And the fact that
Wow.
that's that empathy that he had for
Yeah.
everybody else around him, and it's just what makes him a GOAT.
Yeah, I watched. It's called The Last Dance, right? The documentary.
Jordan one?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I watched that, and afterwards, my husband was like, "Okay, you cannot watch sports documentaries at night anymore." I was so jacked up
Oh,
after
yeah.
watching
You can't
that.
not be.
Oh,
How can
I
you
felt
not
like
be?
I could just go shoot like a slam dunk a ball. I've never done it in my life, but I was just so jacked after watching his story and just how he lived his life was cool.
Well, Walter, I say we just go ahead and dive right into your story. Sometimes just because we like to keep this as a quick cast, we may pause the episode, start the back half of the conversation, but we're just going to dive right in if you're cool with that.
Absolutely.
I would love for you. I think we've led up to a lot. We've talked about your story so many times and said those words so far in the few minutes we've been chatting. Tell us where it started. Like, kind of walk us through. You've very artistically painted this picture as you've shared this story several times as I've watched it. So I can't wait to hear it live. But tell us where it started and catch us up on that.
Well, where it started, I was looking for jobs, and I just for some reason couldn't get one. So I was on Indeed, and
what year was this? Was
20? I'm not mistaken. 2018. It's been
That's
so
what
many
I
years
thought,
now.
yeah.
I think 2018 June.
so about 3
13.
years ago. Yep.
Yeah, about 3 years ago now. And I was looking for a job, and a week prior for that, I was on Indeed, and this bed house job popped up for $25 an hour. I was like, that sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
So I put the application in, and then with Luke, the way he has it set up, which is nice, they have the interview questions there, and you have to answer. You have to record yourself in the background. That's like, as long as it's not noise and it's white, whatever background it is. If you answer the questions and everything, and you submit it. And no story, I literally took me 16 minutes. Like, I took 16 videos before I submitted the video for the application, because I was trying to make sure it was absolutely perfect so I can get the job. And then a few days later, they called me and said, "Hey, like your interview, you hired. When can you start?" I was like, "Well, I can start today if you,
Yeah.
if you wanted me to."
And this
Like,
was
well,
for
let's
a
get
move. It's a moving company.
moving company, yeah.
Yeah.
So it was like, "Well, hold on, let's get some more stuff done, but we just want to let you know that you hired.
Yeah.
Or we give you a call when a job is coming open." I said, "Okay, sounds good." And that Wednesday or Thursday they called, and they was like, "Can you work tomorrow morning?" Yeah, I'm like, "Yes, I can." I said, "What time you need me to be there?" "It's 8, but you want to be there about 15, 20 minutes early. Well, 15 minutes early, so you can meet the team and get a feel out how the house is." I said, "Sounds good. I'll be there. I'll probably be there 30 minutes early because I like to come early anyway. That's just me.
Oof.
I always show up before everybody else do. I want to get the first."
You had no idea how painful that extra 15 minutes might have been at the time when you committed.
Right. So that night, it's almost the evening night. I was trying to go get something to eat, and the car did not want to start. I said, "Out of all days, you choose today not to start?" So me and the car literally having a conversation like, "Can you please just start for this? Just for tomorrow?" So
Haven't we all had that conversation with our
Yes,
car in the past?
yes.
Yeah.
Let's get through this moment. So at that point, I started thinking, okay, all right, that's not gonna stop me. I'll start calling and testing people like, "Hey, can you give me a ride to work tomorrow? It's such this place. It's saying, it's not that far. I'll pay you back when I can." Some people called back, they couldn't do it. They had to work at the same time frame. Some people didn't never call back or text back. So I was like, okay. And I was telling my girl, like, babe, I'm gonna have to figure out something because my car wasn't working. And she was in school at the time frame. We both was in school. But in that time frame, she had a class and a test that day. So I'm like, I'm not gonna put that stress on you to take me there and then try to rush back and get ready for your test for school. I figured it out. So I was sitting there like, I got maps. Let me see how far of a drive it is to Pelham from Homewood where I stayed at that time frame. And it was like 30 minutes. That should be bad. It shouldn't be a long walk. Well, I was so wrong. Because it went from 30 minutes to 7 hours and 25 minutes for one. I'm like, cool. I'm like, how you go from 30 minutes to 7 hours? How? I'm like, no, son. I said, this GPS don't know me. I'm finna crush that. Less than
I'm
7
gonna,
hours.
I'm gonna beat 7 hours for sure.
Right. I said, they don't know me. I walk fast. So I ate and took me a little nap. Of course, my girlfriend was not okay with me walking like that. I was like, well, I got to get there. There's nothing going to, I promised them. I'm a person, if I tell you I'm going to do something and I gave my word, I keep my word and I'm going to do it. I said, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there. So I say 11 something going on midnight. I took off walking. And at that time, I had an iPhone. So iPhones died pretty fast. So I had to keep cutting it on, cut it off to see how far I was. So did that. Only thing I regret was not bringing some water, something to drink, and something to eat on the way there. Yeah. Bad idea. I had a baseball.
Yeah, you needed to carb load a little bit for that 7-hour workout.
Yeah.
Right. So then I grabbed was my wallet, my phone, of course, my pocket knife, just in case I ran into a stray dog. But I love animals, so I didn't want to hurt an animal. So
I ran into a stray dog.
Stray dog is the one, predator that you're really concerned about. I mean, there's so many others.
Other things, but the stray dog is the one you like.
You can't get away from.
Go down. Yeah. So I didn't want to hurt him, so I had a ball that just kept me going while I was going. So as I'm walking. Now, I got jogging pants on, got a shirt that comes down to right here. Bad idea for a hot summer that year. I don't know what I was thinking, but the grass was high. So if I didn't have it, I've been in trouble because that grass was high I was walking through. And I get up to this, going up this hill. I'm dodging cars dodging me because you can't see me. I don't have a reflector thing on.
And what time is this approximately?
By this time, it's probably 1 o'clock in the morning now, 1 or 2. And I come across a dog, and I hear something jiggling in the background, but like I can't see it. And now it's a mile between the next street lights, and I'm thinking, okay, I can't see what it is. What I'm gonna do? The street light is like a half a mile up. So what you gonna do? You gonna stay here, keep walking slow, or you gonna take off, get to the light, see what's going on? So I took off to the light, and I just hit a dangle. I'm like, whatever this is, it's fast. So I get to a light and I realize it's a dog that I came across earlier in somebody's yard. It was a friendly dog. And I guess it had a hole in the fence that it got from under. So I could tell it's friendly because I called it come here and it came. So I just threw the ball down the hill. It chased it. I kept going. It's just like, yeah, I'm going to go this way while you go down that way.
Yeah.
And then I got to a certain spot where I sat because my legs was thriving. Because I get to a point, if I slowed down, I ran it. Like I run a mile, jog a mile, speed walk one. If I feel like I stopped for 10 seconds, I'm like, okay, that 10 seconds has cost me 2 minutes. Now I'm finna run this next mile to get me back where I need to be. And my legs was just like, my guy, we need a break. So I said, okay, bud, I'm gonna give you a break for right now. So I wasn't paying attention. There was a bank behind me. The Regions banks were behind me, and I was sitting on the curve right in the front of the Regions bank. So at the time, the police officer pulled by, and I don't think he recognized or saw me fully, so he had to cut around. So in my mindset, I said either he saw me or he didn't see me, so he's finna backtrack and see if he saw me or not. So at that time frame, when I saw him go across the bank, I said, yeah, he saw me. So like, it's time to get up. So I got up. In my mind, once I saw him come across around the bank, I said, he gonna cut the lights on. And literally in my head, I counted to 5 seconds. And when I got to 1, he cuts his lights on.
Oh, wow.
And my mindset, I'm just like, I didn't think negative. I was like, what I said, I took it as God saying, okay, you did your best. You know, we'll get another job opportunity. You made it this far, but It's time to go home. That's why I looked at it at first. And then all the negative thoughts came in. What did I do wrong? What's going on? Then I looked at the bank. I said, oh, I'm in front of this bank. That's probably a bad look. I not. It's 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm sitting in front of the bank. That's not a good thing.
Yeah.
So he pulls over. We talking. He's like, "What's going on?" I said, "It's gonna sound real crazy." But I'm walking. I'm walking.
I'm sure that's the first time he's heard that.
It was. He's like, I've never heard somebody say they walk into their first day of the job. He said, when did you leave? And that time frame, 2 other cops and separate cars pulled up. So now it's like,
Oh gosh.
I'm like, okay, got 3 cops here. This ain't looking good for people that's passing by now. I was like, okay. So they was like, for anything else, she was like, when did you start walking? I was like, well, I left around close to midnight. They're like, midnight? I was like, yes. He said, where you coming from? I said, came from home. At this time frame, I was in Pelham, but I was still so far from where I needed to be.
Yep.
And one officer knows something before we talk about anything else. When the last time you asked, hey, about 7, 8 last night? He said, you pretty much walked that off. Before we talk about anything else, let's go get something to eat. I wasn't expecting that. I was like, okay, well, like, he already have Whataburger. I think it's Whataburger they took me to. I was just like, no, never heard of it. And he's like, you would love their breakfast. I was like, they open at this time frame? It's 2 o'clock in the morning. I was like, okay. At that time, I didn't have much money. And I was like, I just paid my bills, my rent, so I'm short on cash. And I told him, I said, well, I'm just going to get something small to put in my stomach because I don't have the money to pay for it. The officer said, order whatever you want. It's on us. Get you breakfast, get you some lunch for later, get you some drink, and get you a drink for later. And they're like, sit down and eat. We're going to come up with a strategy. And us sitting there talking in the 15, 20 minutes, we got to know each other, family members, how their kids doing, how I'm in school, how they admire me, because they're like, well, I will not walk to my first day of the job. I'm going to call off. But he said for you to do that and kept your word, they were just in awe. So they came up with a strategy to drop me off. Not in the neighborhood, because then they're like, well, we will get a phone call saying somebody walk around the neighborhood. It's still too early. We're going to drop you off in a place where you can still rest. People can see you and it's light. So people want to keep dodging you at the last second. And then we go radio. He's like, I radio my good friend that's patrolling that area to look out for you. And no story. Once he dropped me off at the church, I was sitting there relaxed. He's like, well, you leave at this time frame. You should get there exactly at 8. And I'm like, no, I want to be there before everybody else. So I'm like, okay. I sat there for me. I looked at the phone again. I got 25% left. My phone's gonna go dead. How far am I? I'm like, it's another 30 minutes. I said, no, I'm gonna take off. I think it's another 30, 45 minutes. I said, I'm gonna take off. I still want to beat everybody there. That's just that's just me. I won't always be the first one on scene. So it gets there, I'm start walking. At that point, I finished my drink. So I saw a trash can, threw it away. Kept going. I'm just walking. At this point, it's a 2-lane road. The speed limit like 55. People flying past me. At that time frame, I was a little guy, so I wasn't the biggest guy. So the wind just pushing me around. I was like, man, this is not safe for me. And then like 2 other cars pulled up. Like, are you good? We heard about you walking the neighborhood. We try to make sure you fine. I said, yes, I'm fine. They're like, how far you out? I said, I don't know. My phone's going dead, trying to save the battery as much as I can so I can clock in on my app for my phone. And everything. So they kept going. They kept checking on me. So I got like 2 more miles, and the cop, I can't remember his name, his buddy, finally came through the neighborhood, and he came pick me up. He said, oh, you Walter? I'm like, yes, sir. He's like, well, get in. You finna be early for work, an hour early for work. I said, that sounds great for me. I was trying to be early anyway. So he texts us I tell him the address where to go, and he goes to Miss Jenny's house at the time frame that she was living in. And
Walter, I'm going to ask you to pause right there, because I was hoping maybe we could get to the door before you knocked on it and you got to meet Jenny. And we're just going to, if you'll hang out with us, we like to keep our podcast, we like to call them a quick cast, so if people drive to and from work and listen to it. We're going to wind this thing down. If you'll hang out with us, I think we certainly want to hear, and our audience certainly wants to hear, the back half of this story. And so, guys, stick around. This is Walter Carr, GOAT, and now in the GOAT family of guests and a part of this podcast for John, for Tyler, for Rachel, and for Colby. We'll see you next time on the GOAT Consulting Podcast. Boom.